Origin Gens, and this is History Summarized, the Mongols, by the channel Sarcastic production. Yeah, I directed to the Genghis Khan series from extra credits, so I think I would know a thing or two about this video. But I guess, I hope he goes beyond Genghis Khan all the way to Kublai Khan or something with all the details. I'm probably sure he's gonna go because it's all about the Mongols, not just Genghis Khan. So it's gonna be a fun video. They say John Green's vision is based on moments. If I stay very still, he won't see me making this video about his favorite exception. No, John Green is. Yeah, okay. That's always fun. Remember, people, if you like my reacts, don't forget to subscribe. Check out the reacts and there's a link in the description. Check out the cast of the different playlists like Oli Sarcastic Production, Internet Historian, CGP Grey, History, Tier Zoo. Yeah.
A lot of things are big, but some things are what I like to call stupid big. Stupid big is the kind of big where even Qui-Gon Jinn stops and thinks, whoa, okay, yeah, that's pretty big. The Mongol Empire, which at its height covered over 25% of the known world at the time and 16% of Earth's total landmass, definitely qualifies as stupid big.
Yeah.
Now, an empire that big doesn't just come out of nowhere, and the Mongols have a reputation for being among history's most brutal conquerors. Some estimates place their death toll at 10% of the world's population, and if you're of the opinion that the Black Death was partly or mostly the Mongols' fault, you can kick that number up to 25%. 25% of the world's population dead in the span of 2.
Oh yeah, I saw that video, right? They went to some castle and threw some, disease-infected bodies inside with catapults or something. Damn, that is just effed up.
Centuries on account of the Mongols. With numbers like that, it should be no surprise that a lot of people have very strong opinions about them. It's worth taking the time to learn about the Mongols out of sheer interest for how amazingly unique their story is, but we also need to recognize when empire is and isn't worth it. Those who praise the Mongol Empire will point out all of the good things that Genghis Khan and his successors did for the people in their empire, as well as how mind-bogglingly effective the Mongol military was, or how much the Mongols promoted trade and the empire's astounding size. Those who really don't like the Mongols.
Yeah, Genghis Khan was really smart on that front, right? He created a unit system, he created all these sections and things, created some form of a military state where they relied on military more than any nobility, all the kind of bullshit. No, it's just, you have role in your, I guess unit or anything. You're part of unit. You eat, sleep with your unit. You are, part of the unit now. So it became all militarized. And then he saw that, war is the one thing Mongols thrive at, not really, engineering, technology, anything, that kind of related invention. So he basically conquered places and take engineers and all the people from there, take their knowledge, and I guess increase the economy that way. He diverted Silk Road, through his, tribes or whatever to make sure they thrive. Yeah, he had a real political mind.
Mongols may point out how bloody their conquests were and how pointless all of that death can seem, given the empire fractured and fizzled out within a century and a half of its creation. Let's also not forget that the Mongols, and Genghis Khan in particular, raped a lot of people. Both positions have merit, so I'm not going to go around and say Mongols good or Mongols bad. They did a lot of good for their people and a lot of bad onto their enemies. So
look, Mongols good on the fact that they made Mongols, they put Mongols on the map, that even today we realize that, right? They made Mongols' condition at the time really good. They made sure they are, they're drowning in silk and all the silver and everything. So it was good for their people and their empire. But overall, for the world, it was really effed up. They raped and killed a lot of people, especially for the time. So that was just effed up. I mean, seeing how big the empire get, it's not surprise how many people they killed, but yeah.
Which one counts for more is up to you. I personally lean towards maybe a little too much of the murdery killy stuff, but that's just me and you're allowed to disagree. So with all that said, let's take a look at the history of the Mongol Empire and try to clear up some misconceptions along the way. The Mongol Empire all started off with one guy named Temujin. Temujin had a rough upbringing as his father died when he was young and his family was abandoned for a long period of time. Through a lot of hard work,
yeah, so basically, the alpha male of that family died, and his tribe is like, fuck that family, they can starve and die. Older men spoke up like, this is not right, and the old man died as well.
Became the head of his clan and got himself a nice wife. Just kidding. His wife was captured by a rival clan, and Temujin had to go through like 8 frickin' castles just to find her. Anyway, I should say the various Mongol clans all lived on and around a plateau called the Steppe, and they were known to bother each other with raids and kidnapping and whatnot. China, their neighbor to the south, was very glad that their potential enemies to the north were too busy fighting amongst themselves to pose any real threat to them. We'll check back on China in 26 years. Enjoy it while it lasts, he said, ominously. Anyway, so Temujin got his wife back and he burned down the clan responsible. The record on the next 15 years or so is a little fuzzy, but the main story beats are that Temujin buddied up with his old childhood friend Jamuka, but then Temujin and Jamuka had different views on the army. Temujin insisted on promoting based on merit alone, whereas Jamuka adhered to aristocratic hierarchies. In the end, Temujin and Jamuka got into a fight and they went to war with each other.
Yeah, but because, Jamuka is the one who came from the noble family, apparently, the horse breeders or whatever. And he's the one who tells Jamuka, basically, by being an asshole, like, go herd sheep or something. So clearly it was in Temujin's, interest to make sure that, everybody's character should matter and that kind of view spreads. So he can attract more common people. So, his side gets stronger, and the Jamuka, who's all noble and aristocratic, he basically gets, slowly get overwhelmed with the people, because obviously common people outnumbers noblemen. That's the point.
As you do. Jamuka won a battle and boiled some dudes alive, but then Temujin was all like, oh, so that's how it is? Well, get wrecked, scrub, and trained up his army to be really good at archery on horseback. And then he taught them all how to wrestle, and he organized the whole thing into units, and it was all like, psh, 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 you are my brother, Anakin, I loved you. And then he defeated Jamuka and united all of the Mongols under his rule, and then Temujin was all like, my name is Khan. Excuse me. So, yeah. Temujin took up the name Genghis Khan, or Chinggis Han in the original Mongolian, and became the ruler of all of Mongolia in the year 1206. Good for him. So remember what I said about China from earlier? Yeah, so now their fear of a united Mongolia just got real, and it also happens to be barreling towards them. One distinct feature of Genghis Khan's armies is that, given they were almost entirely composed of cavalry, they could travel across territory much faster than any marching infantry could. Mongol horses were also much smaller than European horses, so the logistics of providing for a cavalry army were much less nightmarish than they easily could have been. The cavalry advantage partially explains how the Mongols would go on to conquer so much so fast. Back to our story. In conquering China in particular, one problem was getting past the Great Wall, but he got around that problem by literally getting around that problem. No, seriously, he just went around the wall. Easy as that. Next, he had to face a large force of Chinese mercenaries who...
He's like, wall. Yeah, let's see how long it is. Let's just walk past it. Oh, look at that. We can go around the wall.
Jumped ship and joined with the Mongols. Okay. Are we sure that Genghis isn't playing on easy mode here? Cheat codes? Anything? Well, okay, carry on. In his attempts to conquer Beijing, Genghis met his most fearsome adversary, a wall that didn't have huge sections missing. Now, I'll admit I'm somewhat playing this up for comedy, and I'll give you my full rant about frontier fortifications when I properly cover Chinese history, but for now, just know that while I think that city walls are supremely useful, I have genuine issues with frontier walls. Anyway, in his attempt to de-wall Beijing, Genghis got a hold of engineers who instructed him on how to build siege weaponry. This is a big example of how resourceful and adaptable he was. Since the Mongol clans were all mildly to moderately nomadic, he had never really dealt with urban fortifications like this before, but he adapted to the situation.
Yeah, the most dangerous thing you can see is Genghis Khan in the distance, in some ground, just going like, what should we do about this? Alright, let's find siege weapon, let's create them.
Situation without skipping a beat. So while he built up his siege engines, the city itself was slowly starving. Soon enough, he was ready. And there's a fairly standard rule of thumb when it comes to Mongols and cities. If you surrender without a fight, you're usually safe and peacefully incorporated into the empire. However, if you put up a fight, the Mongols put up a bigger fight, and lots of cities were almost entirely destroyed that way. I would say their message was pretty much, don't make our lives difficult and we won't make yours short. In the long run, it was a
help me help you, basically that was his thing. You need to help me help you, because only way you can help yourself is, let us in. If you don't, I guess I have no other choice but kill every single one of you.
effective, as many cities would turn themselves over at first sight of the Mongols. This, in part as well as their distinct equine mobility, helped them conquer as much as they did as fast as they did. Beijing, unfortunately for themselves, put up a very strong fight against the Mongols. Genghis needed to show on his first foreign campaign that he wasn't just playing around, so when he finally broke through the city, he pillaged and massacred it for a solid month. Yeah, there's a reason a lot of people have beef with the Mongols. The invasion and conquest of China would continue on for another several decades, ultimately resulting in the formation of the Yuan dynasty in 1271, led by Genghis's grandson, Kublai Khan. The Yuan dynasty conquered the southern part of China in the following 8 years and ruled over China for 89 years until it was overthrown in 1368 and replaced with the famous Ming dynasty. The Yuan dynasty, short as it may have been, had its own little mini cultural boom in advance of the huge cultural boom under the Ming. So, yeah. Again, in the grand scheme of things, really didn't do a lot. Was just kinda there. But the Yuan dynasty did get semi-famous in European history because of the travels of Marco Polo and all the stuff that he wrote about it. So that's neat. Okay, so with China covered, let's jump back in time to Genghis, who was looking westward to find trade partners. In 1218, he reached out to the Khwarezmid Empire, a Persian and Muslim empire in and around modern Iran, as their territory contained the Old Silk Road. The relationship was a little bit shaky to begin with, but when a Khwarezmid governor executed Mongol envoys he suspected of being spies, Genghis got pretty angry.
Oh, okay, so that thing, right? He broke up the deal with them, like, let's do the trading. And then when his envoy went there, one of the officers just killed that envoy, the main, I guess it was just one guy who was riding the envoy, whatever. So yeah, basically he killed them, and then Genghis Khan sent some more people there, like, what's with that? Why did you do that? Punish the guy who was involved. And then he killed all of them, and Genghis just then flipped out basically, and war is on.
What followed was the most disproportionate revenge campaign that I have ever seen. He invaded Khwarezmia and destroyed the entire empire in 2 years. Estimates are all over the map, but conservative guesses put the death toll at well over 1 million. Conservative guesses. I wasn't kidding when I said disproportionate. For the Mongols, this meant that they just about owned, or at least had presence in, the entire Silk Road, which for them was great. They facilitated trade between Europe, the Muslim world, and Mongol China, and the Mongols themselves made a lot of money from Silk Road tolls and taxes. Win-win for them. And this is a big theme of the Mongol Empire. A lot of the conquest was for the direct benefit of the Mongol people themselves. Valuable people from conquered lands such as doctors, artists, administrators, and more were spread all over the Mongol Empire. That, along with the conquest of the Silk Road, were huge bonuses for them. They also had a transcontinental postal system, which was neat. Genghis, growing up with the needless bloodshed and hardships that he did, wanted the best for his people, even at such great expense to everyone else. You can argue that he was protecting his own, and you can argue that he was a genocidal maniac. I personally lean more towards the latter, but that's just me.
He was a genocidal maniac, come on. I mean, maybe he could have gone a bit easy with killing. But yeah, obviously, like I said in the extra credits video, the psychology matters a lot. And when you're a kid and the shit happens around you, like your father dies, then your tribe just kicks you to the curb, like you can all starve to death. Then you literally have to fend for yourself, hunt for just to eat. You're an outcast basically by now. At that point, you start to think things, then you have to run away to mountains and things just to avoid them. Tribe that was once which were your tribe is now trying to kill you. All this thing takes a toll, right? So I guess that probably fueled his, kill or be killed mentality and just slaughter many people. But yeah, that's just after. But at least seeing that, he saw that, at least whenever any soldier or anybody dies, basically take care of their family is the, really important thing. I guess he changed that at least because the same shit happened to him. So, whatever shit happened to his life, he put lots of different approaches and reforms in his own rule.
So after destroying the Khwarezmid Empire, the Mongols kept going west because, well, why not? Even after Genghis himself died and was succeeded by his son Ogadai, the Mongols continued conquering in every conceivable direction, pushing into Korea, Persia, Eastern Europe and the Kievan Rus, southern China still going on at this point. Yeah, they're going everywhere. Well, that's not true. There were a couple limiting factors. They didn't go north because Siberia, they didn't go to India because Himalayas, and they didn't go into Arabia.
Not just because Himalayas, because it rained there. There was water in the air, moisture.
Because desert, but they had a real good handle on everything in between. Things started to go downhill on account of Genghis Khan's children. First off, he raped a lot of women during his life as a conqueror, which I don't need to tell you is really bad and in itself worth a lot of condemnation. But beyond that, actually, the kids he had with his wife proved problematic enough, as the line of imperial succession quickly became muddled after Ogedai's death. Various usurpations and civil wars led to the fracturing of the Mongol Empire into four main bodies. Kublai Khan, who was lucky enough to win his civil wars, took control of Mongolia and China, becoming the emperor of the Yuan dynasty, as we mentioned earlier. Kublai was nominally in charge of the other three khanates while he was alive, but in practice not so much. When he died in 1294, the khanates were officially all on their own. Genghis' son Chagatai held on to some land just west of China, but the subsequent Chagatai Khanate didn't really do a whole lot besides slowly fizzling away over the following few centuries. Alright, it's not a great start, but let's see what else we get. So to the southwest was the Il Khanate, founded...
Okay, this is modern day China, right? I don't know how much of it is China, all the way to here, I guess. Isn't most of this area is mountainous and not much of use? That's why most of Chinese cities are on this side. So is Chagatai is mostly mountainous area, is that it?
By Kublai's brother Hulagu. The Khanate gradually converted to Islam, and it ended up disintegrating after about a century on account of the Black Death. Damn, over two. Okay, third time's the charm, let's go. And speaking of the Black Death, the Golden Horde to the north are the ones responsible for besieging the port city of Kaffa on the Black Sea. They catapulted plague-infested bodies over the walls, at which point Venetian and Genoese traders to the city brought the plague back with them and...
Okay, I remember reacting to some video which, Blue explained this, but someone in the comments said that this is disputed, like this is not necessarily true. So which is it? This really did happen, or this is just exaggerated thing?
Proceeded to screw over all of Europe. The Golden Horde is also quite involved with Russian history, but since that's its own story, I'll have to leave that as a story for another time. But it, like the other Khanates, slowly disintegrated and was eventually absorbed by another blooming empire. In this case, Russia. Well, nuts. That's a wash, isn't it? Anyway, all four Khanates were plagued by various civil wars, interkhanate wars, and junk like that, so it's not hard to see why some argue that the Mongol Empire simply devolved into a mess. While various successor states to the four Khanates did survive for a few more centuries, the Mongol Empire, insofar as it was a powerful force in world history, was pretty much dead by the latter 1300s. So, was it worth it? The Mongols are fascinating.
Well, that's what happened when one guy has an idea, has ambition, is brave enough to do this, who came from really effed up place and just saw a vision to do something, whose childhood was pretty effed up, and then obviously his sons are not going to be like that. That's how it goes with all the great, I guess, emperors or whatever who conquer things. But still, Genghis Khan's son still held out, more than one could hope for, I guess. Looking at Alexander the Great, basically he conquered, he died, and that's it, his empire fell apart. At least this lasted somewhat until Kublai Khan or something. So yeah, I mean, he came from a really effed up childhood. His father died, then his tribe basically abandoned them. So, then he saw how he had to survive. Then his own tribe tried to kill him because he became a fugitive. He killed his half older brother. And, it's just the environment he was, he grew up, all the psychological thing. Basically, that gave him the ambition and everything to, create this big empire. And he was smart too. He created lots of, unit system and everything. He created this militarized state type of thing where it was just normal tribal warfare thing. People literally, attacked in middle of the attack, started to lose things. They didn't even stop until the, attack was over or something. So, he actually reformed lots of things there. He, stabilized. He made sure that people see it. Like, it's about the whole tribe, not just you, and whoever is better will get the things in the end. So, obviously, it all fell apart because of that.
To study because they raise so many questions like this one. Depending on what things you may personally value, they can be great empire builders and trade facilitators, or they can be bloodthirsty conquerors with a little too strong of an appetite for civil war. I've told you where I lean, but really all I can do is lean towards one view or another because the Mongols are both. You can't ignore the death that went into creating the empire, and you can't write off the positives that came from their conquest. History is complicated. Who knew? These questions are tricky with any history because just about every empire has at least one example of doing something massively destructive for selfish gain. But with the Mongols, the stakes are so much higher because the scale in question is, to put it simply, stupid big.
So yeah, Mongols had the big ass empire, right? Really big empire. So it's not surprising the level of kill count they had. But still, sometimes I think they should just, ease off a bit with all the killing, and raping, rinse and repeat. Somebody in the comments said in one of the videos of Genghis Khan, they reacted that, so one of his relatives died and Genghis Khan just basically killed the whole city or something. I mean, that's just way after, right? They were very bloodthirsty. But yeah, that was just something. Alright people, that was history summarized, the Mongols. If you like my reaction, don't like, subscribe, check out the reaction, there's a link in the description, check out the cast wall, please check out the end cards, and I'll see you next time.